Hello guys, Axel here, and welcome to QWERTY Coordinates. This is one I've seen for a while, and I did want to make a tutorial on it, and I finally understood how it works, so it's a tutorial for it. So on the screen you'll see a set of letters, in this case Z-E-O-T-L, or here L-K-C-X-E-E, and the idea of the module is actually quite simple. So on these lines here, either two words, well, both of the two words, but so you could have one word. Each separated part represents a different word, and the first letter's row on this grid here, and the second letter's column has to make the letter in this position. You can also use Shift, caps lock, and also spacing, which is tab here. Just so it's only tab here because if you look at your own keyboard, it lines up like that. And we basically have to find a word or a set of words which mapped these letters. So basically these letters give you a hint of where stuff is. We also have these cyan lines here, sort of cyan squiggly lines. This means that the letter must be uppercase when typed here. In this case we have one here, we have two here and one here. Sometimes these wavy lines can give you a hint of what is basically forced, basically. So by the end of it we need to have 5 mapped letters. And these buttons count as button presses. So let's see how many lines we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, you also count the space actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need pairs, but that doesn't matter because one of the button presses for this one is going to be either caps or shift, given whichever one is more useful. In this case, it's going to be caps because then that gives us the row for the L. So we know that the first two characters are going to be just 2 letters. The next one's going to be a space in a letter. Then we're going to have 2 letters and then caps lock in a letter. So we can use these ones we've already forced first presses to give us a hint of what other presses can happen. So for the L, we can either have for the column to be right for that one, we can either have O as the last letter or L as the last letter, I think. It does say something about if a pair of key presses match with a grid letter outside of the keyboard, that being this empty space here, or on the same row or column. So yeah, actually, if it's not allowing being on the same row or column, then in fact, since we know this is caps, the last letter has to be O, which is going to be a slightly annoying letter to have as the last letter, but that seems like what it's going to be asking for. So then, I guess we can work backwards from here. What set of 2 letters could come before an O? I know some words end in RGO. Would that? So if we had the space here, we have the space there, and that's going to map to an O. So again, we have technically only one option here. That one has to be space L, if we're not allowed to use the same row for both of them. So L something something O. And this is 2 words that we can also note here. So in fact, we only have to focus on this part of it, and then the other one's just going to be a word that maps to the first 2 letters. So L something something O, and we need it to map to a T. Like, I want to say Lego, but I doubt that's going to be in the word list. Maybe we can use the word list checker here to check. I doubt Lego is going to be in it though. Yeah, Lego isn't in it. The column has to be one of these ones. So Lobo? No. It needs to map to T. Yeah, so all of these letters. More probably G or B because T is going to be taken out from the first one. So and here's the first thing has to come after L. It takes up quite a lot of these letters. Basically only the vowels basically we can use. Ligo? No. Libo? No. So yeah, we basically have to figure out how to get the correct letters there. No. I'm pretty sure that the L and the O are forced given the rule down here. Lebo. I really tried that. Lugo. Could it be LY? LE. Is tab L to give O and caps O to give L. So those are pretty sure forced. Sorry, this is taking a little bit. So Q can't come after it. W can't come after L. E can. R I don't think can. LY. Like would always, like something like IL would work, but that would map to O rather than T. LI. Libo, Ligo, Lugo. This is taking longer than I thought. Let's look at the first part, see if we can think of anything for this. CA, we can have, so this is ZE, and this is to be OPL. So Z we can get from CA, and then we can get E from RD. So basically got the first bit already. We just need to get back to this now. Because it's the tab, and then we need O, so it's going to be L here. It's submit if you're otherwise text mode server. Here's a new puzzle. Yeah, so the pair of key presses from active and code letter both sides of the keyboard or on the same row or column or key press doesn't belong to a pair. So just a reminder, we're looking at the or on the same row or column rule, which basically forces these two to map to the right ones. So we just need to look for something that maps the T, basically. And the first one has to be in this row, and then this one has to be G or B. So I'm guessing, let's start with B. Oh, logo. Duh. So, don't know how that took me so long to spot. Gonna go OG, yeah. So, now typing this in, you can see when you press the caps lock button, a symbol will appear underneath a line, meaning you've pressed the caps lock button there. So in this case, we don't want it caps, so C-A-R-D space. Don't know if you need to press space or not, but I press space anyway. Then L-O-G caps lock O. There we go. Card logo. Back to that. Let's do another example. Sorry that one took me about 14 minutes to figure out. But it just shows you that spotting the word sometimes takes a little bit. Okay, so in this case, we have 6 characters and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in this case, we need to find 2 extra presses from somewhere. And this caps lock tab thing is giving me a hint here. that something has to happen around there. So we have letter, caps, either caps lock or. So the first two will map to L, the second two will map to K, the next one has to map to C. So in this case, we're using shift letter. Oh yeah, then that makes sense because then X also requires shift, so we'll be shifting twice for those two letters. Then the second one will be space something. Okay. So now we've figured out what we want. We can now look at the stuff that's half forced, basically. So the second word has to map to two E's. The tab means that we're looking at either C or D here. And then to get another E, thankfully this is slightly easier because we can then just, it looks like does cod work here? Because then with tab and C match to the E, and then we have O and D, which also match to E. So we already have our second word, cod. Now we just have to look at L, K, C, and X here. We can see with C and the X, we already have part of it. So in this case, for this letter, this is going to be D or E, and this is going to be S or W. I'm starting to think that this is going to probably be the S, so we can have ES at the end. So shift E, shift X. And then can we figure something out with the other letters? So L is going to be something O. K is going to be something I. Because again, we can't use the same thing, the same row or the same column for any of these. So this one has to be an I, and this one has to be an O to get the right column. Then we're just looking on this row. So Foley's? No. Maybe Holy's? No. We need something on this row. But not L. This is basically the harder part when you then have just to rattle through anything in your mind and figure out what works. So this one we had an option of D or E, and this one we had S or W. Solids? Solids could work, I think. So SO gives us L, LI gives us K, Shift E, or Shift D gives us that, and Shift S gives us that. Yeah, just to make sure, solids. Yes, okay. So we have our two words, solids cod. So then we have to type this in the way we've put it. So SOLI Shift D Shift S space COD. Okay, another submodule. Thankfully, did that one slightly quicker than the first one. So that was QWERTY coordinates. So it is an easy concept, but sometimes the finding the word part can be a struggle, as you saw with that first example. I just did not see the word logo there at all. But it is actually helpful to know that shifts, tabs, and caps locks definitely help you, especially if you get this, especially if you get these ones. Actually, given how it works, I don't think you can ever get a P in any of the words, because the first one would have to go to this row, but there's nothing underneath the P to map to a column. So, correct me if I'm wrong with that, because I probably have misunderstood that. Might just be misunderstanding this rule of on the same row or column. But tab, caps, and shift definitely narrowed down what you're looking for some of the letters. And also, getting separate words does also help, because then you only have to focus on shorter words. You don't have to come up with a 7-letter word that fits. Like I have one recently, which I had to figure out the word Canadian, so which was only 4 letters on the screen, but it was one word, so it was slightly harder. And no forced letters, of course. So that was QWERTY coordinates. Hopefully you understand how it works now. Is anything it doesn't? Yes. If part of your answer generates the correct text, but it's not a word, the module will highlight in yellow bold strike, meaning if going back to this one, if I put Sohids is probably not a word. But cod is a word, so you'd like to have in yellow saying, yes, part of it is a word, but Sohids isn't a word, despite mapping to the right thing. Change that, basically. And then you can change to the right thing. But of course, if you've either typed in words that don't map to the correct letters, or even both typed in this that don't map to the right word and isn't the word at all, then you get a strike, of course. I don't think there's anything else. Just sign characters, wavy underscores are uppercase, white characters are lowercase, as you saw. And all answers have to be English words. So, hopefully you understand how QWERTY coordinates works now. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll see you later.